This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting has been provided by advertisement, the Cape May Star and Wave, the Herald, on the Township website, and has been posted on the bulletin boards of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Neville.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Present.
Deputy Clerk Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. Before we begin the work session, we have one of those fun things that we occasionally get to do here. And we have a gentleman by the name of Ray Brown. And he has 50 years of service in the Town Bank Fire Company. I'm sitting here trying to remember where I was 50 years ago. I was delivering the Inquirer up in the city. So, I'm not quite there yet, but that's a lot of time. The more you stay in office and the more you're on council, and I'm sure we all agree with one thing, the more we interact with the fire companies, and quite frequently it's on the emergency situations that we go to. And, we can't thank you often enough, and we can't find the words to express the gratitude we have for each one of you and your families. We thank you every day, and we should, and we're just grateful that you're there. And I'm going to turn this over to Jim Neville because he has a few words to say. I think he had a meal with you guys last week.
Yeah, I actually got to spend some of the good time and good food at the reorganization and time when everybody was having a good time rather than fighting fire. And that's when it was brought to my attention that Ray has 50 years of service in with the Town Bank Fire, and I thought it was awful nice. And then I started to realize that way back when Town Bank Fire Department was a small building, and St. John of God used to use it as the church, and I was one of the older boys, and then we had to reset the tables up so that they got bingo the next night and then clean up after bingo. And I also think Mr. Brown was one of the ones that back in the day, in the late 60s, when they used to have the 4th of July parade and property owners' kids used to dress their bikes up, and we would get, actually the winner, a silver dollar. And it was a real silver dollar, and it was after the silvers. And then me being a collector, I always tried my best, and it was always a pleasure to be a part of that. So we're proud to present a proclamation to you tonight.
Okay, council would join me. If Ray, you and your family would please step forward so we can read this out to you. Come on up here. You know what? Why don't we have, it's up to you if you want your other members to come up and stand up. Whereas Ray Brown has been a Lower Township resident since 1948, attending Our Lady Star of the Sea School, grade school, and graduating from the old Cape May High School. And whereas in 1964, he and his wife Betty Ann purchased a home in Newark, Cape May, and joined the Town Bank Volunteer Fire Company. Whereas Ray served as an assistant chief for 15 years, fire chief for an additional 15 years, and fire commissioner for over 35 years, and is still an active member of the Town Bank Volunteer Fire Company. Whereas during his 50 years of service to the fire company, Ray has outlasted 2 sets of fire trucks, and helped build a new fire hall. Whereas Ray has known since he was a child that he always wanted to be a fireman. Now, therefore, it is with great pleasure that I, Mayor Michael Lebeck, and the Lower Township Council do hereby congratulate Ray Brown on his 50 years of service to the Town Bank Fire Company and thank him for his dedication to the citizens of Lower Township. Signed this 22nd day of January. Thank you, Ray. Get on the camera, guys. You can wave on the way out. I know. I see this. By the way, Jimmy still decorates his bike on the July 4th. Nobody gave him Okay, we'll give it a moment. Okay, we'll move down to the consent agenda. Do I have any council comments or questions on the consent agenda? Open up the public comment on the consent agenda. Close the public portion.
Approval of minutes, January 6, 2014. Resolutions number 2014-42 through 2014-53.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Move down to the regular agenda. Then we don't have anything there. Administrative reports. Any comments or questions on the administrative reports? We go right to council comments. Councilman Conrad?
January 15th, Mr. Degner did a wonderful article concerning Lower Cape May Regional High School. This is important because we're fighting the Cape May leaving the district. What has turned out, from what Mr. Kovic said, is our school can now not bond. This is going to cost possibly the taxpayers now and in the future. This is something no one saw, but this is the effects that this thing is taken, and I'm hoping Cape May sees the light soon and says this is just not worth it. Imagine the roof's leaking, they do patches, but they can't actually fix it because there is no bonding. This will affect us because that 2% cap is real, and later on, as the bonding goes down, they won't be able to possibly fix, or they're going to take the money out of the programs today. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Neville?
Okay, I have a couple of things. One, I don't know whether I really want to address it, spout off, and Clubhouse Road and property owners got hammered, and while most of it's not true, I'm just going to leave it at that. And I have a tale of three ships too that needs to be addressed for 2014. And there's a little analogy, the SS Lower Cape May Regional School. And I believe the captain is Chris Kovic. And Lower Township is blessed with him at the helm, trying to educate the public with reports of the school funding, with the article Mr. Degner wrote, how it could be devastating to the community. And also, even the two decisions he made the last 2 days. One is to get the half day in yesterday and to close the school today. Shows how much in touch he is with the area and the safety of the staff and the children, and whether it was right to get in there or not. He made good decisions. The next is the SS Wichterman of Cape May with Captain Jack at the helm, burning Cape May's dollars by the bundles while barking orders to Cape May residents of, we've got to spend money to save money. He must be the only one that sees that Seaside Heights is about $700,000 into it, and they have not seen a penny of relief. Lower Township has to fund the submarines to torpedo this ship and hopefully sink it as soon as possible. We have to pay for Terry Corrales reports. We have to hire lawyers so that we can get the people of Cape May to see that they're not going to save any money. So, therefore, he really is the enemy of every child in that regional school district, because if Cape May is successful in getting out, they would suffer. And whether they live in Cape May or Lower Township, He's basically the enemy of every Lower Township resident. Hopefully the residents of Cape May will wake up and vote him out. And the last ship, unfortunately, is the SSLTMUA, and it looks like everything that they've been doing, 2,500 new hookups in Town Bank, people who had polluted water, saving $135,000 a year in solar energy. There's been no increase in sewer in the last 4 years, but somehow this ship has gotten stuck in the mud. And I believe that probably council is going to have to get together, because there are times when people that are put on the board who have a duty to hire and run the place down there are actually coming to us looking for advice on how to do things. And something's got to change. Okay? Thank you.
Very well said, Councilman Neville. And with that, if I have several comments, but along with exactly what he just said, I'd like to move forward with a motion to appoint a new member to the board of the MUA. So I make that motion. Are you seconding it?
I'll second it.
Prior to making the motion, I draw your attention to the agenda, which was posted 48 hours ago. That is not on the agenda. Any action that the council would take on that motion would be challenged and would be voided. So you don't have the authority to do it because it's not on the agenda.
Well, 3 months ago, they were an elected position. This is the way council did it. They put in someone on council without not being on the agenda. Mr. Neville made a wonderful pick with Jackie Henderson to be seated on council, and it was not on the agenda either.
Well, that might have been the way it was done. I can only tell you what the Open Public Meeting Act requires, and it requires 48 hours notice on the agenda.
Does that mean the law was broken on September 16th?
I don't know anything about what occurred on that.
Well, I don't know how we can do something one way at one meeting and then we're going to change it it's only been a couple of meetings.
If I may,
Sure.
we were given a notice of the 3 applicants for the seat.
Yes, and we were all given notice of all the applicants for the MUA appointment. Did we not receive those?
I haven't gotten any.
You haven't gotten any by the manager?
It wasn't on the agenda. I did not get any.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda the last time. I mean, we're making rules up as we go along here. I don't get it. I don't understand. I also, I don't understand why it wasn't on the agenda in the first place, because it's been done at this meeting every year for I don't know how many, at least the last decade. And when I asked the manager, he said he didn't know why. So, I mean, do we know why it wasn't on the agenda?
Nobody asked.
Nobody asked for it to be placed on the agenda.
That's
So,
We currently have open positions.
so is that, Mr. Vole, is that your responsibility to have that put on the agenda?
If it's asked to be put on the agenda, yes.
Do we ask to put the reorg stuff on the agenda, or is that just put on? That's the question.
Yeah, that's automatically done because they're the same appointments year after year. We currently have open positions on a number of boards. No one has requested anything be filled.
Okay, well, I am,
Okay.
right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On the February
Yes.
3rd agenda.
And I'm all, I don't see why it can't be done tonight. I sat in that audience on September 16th and heard, Councilman Neville ask for the motion. And of course, it worked. It was done then, and now it's not being done. So I don't get it. There's something going on. I don't understand it.
All right, if I may.
You may.
The first meeting, when it was a Monday afternoon and the 3 names were submitted to council, and the leader of the Republican organization asked us to do it that night, we hadn't even had time to review their resumes. The following meeting, which was 14 days later, and we as council had 30 days to appoint a person to that board, or it goes back to the Republicans so they can appoint whoever they want. We chose to appoint someone. That's how that went.
How long
It's
have you
not
had the applications of the applicants?
They're all various. Some came in
Right.
December, some came in January, some are almost a year old.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So we've had sufficient time to look over the applicants.
Honestly, only one council member actually, and yourself, Council Member Conrad and yourself, requested copies of the applicants.
But I got that prior to. I got them from I don't know, I forget if it was you or Mr. Vole, but I received Each time an applicant came in, an application came in, I received it in my email. Are you telling me the rest of council didn't get that?
No.
No, I sent it to all the councilors, names came in.
Okay, so then
Jackie and-
you just proved my point. Everybody had all the applicants, correct?
The ones that I know of, yes.
Okay, thank you. I said that and you told me I was wrong 5 minutes ago. I don't understand.
No. I didn't say you were wrong.
These guys said they don't know who the applicants are. Didn't they just say that they did not? Thank you.
I've not forwarded the applications to anyone. No one.
All right.
Councilmember Conrad requested.
Let me slow down.
But he has.
Let me clarify. I sent the ones that last few weeks that came, the Jackie, Gary, and if there was another one. They're the only ones that
Mr. McEwen.
And Mr. McEwen, Brian McEwen. I sent them out to everybody that these people expressed an interest. However, and of all due respect, nobody asked me to have the appointment put on the agenda tonight. And there's another meeting prior to reorganization of the MUA. We will meet on the Monday. They will reorganize Wednesday. So that Monday, the
I
council
understand that.
collectively can appoint.
I understand. It's a point. You know, I'm tired of sitting up here not getting the information that I need for the meetings. Okay. All right. I just spoke to the mayor. I spoke to you this weekend, and I spoke to you on Friday. And you know, I'm telling you, it's. You know, if you want to keep me in the dark, that's fine. But
Eric?
you know,
Eric, listen, you're my friend. I don't keep you in the dark. As much information I have, I give you. Sometimes I think council gets upset when I overload them with information.
but you
So
told
I'm
me
trying to
when I
improve
spoke
that.
to you that you knew
Yeah.
nothing about why it wasn't put on the agenda. That's what you
Just
told me.
nobody asked. Nobody asked to put on the agenda.
None of the councilmen asked?
No.
I was under the assumption that
No.
there was.
No, nobody asked to put on. If they did, it would be on. That's your right as council people to ask, and it would be put on the agenda.
Well, I know I sent an email on 2 days ago,
Monday. Correct.
Monday, right?
Yeah, Julie and I talked about that this morning.
But
But,
according
you
to-
know, you said,
I mean, I sat up here last meeting and there was a resolution sitting here when I got up here that was approved. Correct? Wasn't there?
That was on the agenda. It was a change.
It was a changed
It was a
resolution,
text-
right?
Yeah, a text change in that
Okay.
resolution.
I still make the motion. And it was seconded, so. And I believe it's legal to do so. Move ahead if we choose to do so.
To violate the Open Public Meetings Act, any action that the council takes is voided.
And that goes on an appointment, we're not talking about an elected official, we're talking about an appointment to a,
It's still, it's an action of council, it's a resolution, it's a decision of the governing body, and it has to be noticed, and the requirement is 48 hours. I think the appropriate...
so this is a new law, this is something new that we're doing in Lower Township, because I know there's been things put on the agenda before, prior to 48 hours, I know that for a fact, I've sat up here before when it happened.
And I would recommend against that.
Okay. So we were allowed to do it before, but we're not allowed to do it anymore, I understand.
Well, the law,
I would recommend exactly...
I understand, the law is flexible, that's what I'm being told.
no, I think the previous.
We can bend it.
Yeah.
We can bend the laws. Anyway, back to my comments. I have several other comments. Two of which, you know, I had the experience of being at a Lower Cape May Regional girls basketball game to see a milestone. Lauren Holden scored her 1,000th point, which anyone that follows sports or basketball knows that is a huge accomplishment. And on top of that, not to mention that she is, I believe, only a junior as well. Also, Corey Damiano, a local wrestler who I've had the pleasure of coaching him and his brother over the years, got his 100th high school win, which is also a very big accomplishment in high school sports. On top of that, I know several meetings. It was a busy week. I know Deputy Mayor Clark and I met with the Economic Development Committee, which I'm sure he will mention something about as well, where Chris Kovic, our superintendent, explained where we are, and it really didn't pertain to the school issue, but where we are with our state test scores. He talked about our district factor group, which is how we are grouped in the state of New Jersey and how we are judged by our test grades. And also, we obviously talked about economic development and school to work bridging the school to work gap that is obviously out there. With that, also the mayor, the manager, and I, along with members of the police department, met regarding there's going to be upgrades to the end of the parkway, and that's in Ward 3. Any residents that would like to discuss that or would like to see what is being done or going to be done there, please contact me. I'd be happy to set up a meeting and meet with you. I believe that we were all on the same page with that. The improvements are going to be, make it much safer at the end of the parkway, as well as it shouldn't disturb any of the citizens that live along that route. And also met with Todd Schaffler, who runs our Lower Township Little League, and we are implementing the Field of Dreams program. And as an advocate for special needs children, we're going to have more special needs children involved in our Little League program, which I think is a great attribute to our town. And last but not least is the Run for the Fallen benefit, which will be February 8th, right, Eileen? Is it February 8th at the Bayview? Each year it's grown and grown. I know Eileen works very hard at it. So we will be there supporting our Run for the Fallen, and you can talk to her about the different things that we need to raise money for. I know she puts up the families of the military members that are involved in the run, and besides that, feeding them and putting them up, and just all kinds of things that go along with that. So with that, I'm finished speaking for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, thank you for mentioning the Economic Development Committee meeting that took place at the high school. I want to start off by really praising Chris Kobick, who's superintendent. He's been very active on the Economic Development Committee, along with many of the business leaders, members of not only business, but the hospital, the fishing industry. All of the different sectors of our community have been meeting. And at these meetings, they've been looking for ways to improve our economy. And one of the things that we realized was that you can't imagine making the economy better unless you're thinking about the next generation of people coming into the workplace. And so Superintendent Kobick invited the Economic Development Committee over to the school and gave a fantastic presentation concerning the opportunities that he saw. Chris is someone who grew up in Lower Township. He's worked in our industries. He was on fishing boats. He understands what this economy is all about. And he has a burning desire to do a great job of educating our high school students at the regional high school. And so what we saw there was all of the opportunities that he was opening up, saying, we could really use help in these areas. We saw business leaders coming in, volunteering their time, members of our economic committee, volunteering their time to come into the classroom and talk about what it takes to build a business. And we're hearing reports about how these business leaders on our committee have lit a fire under many of the students in the classroom. So it's thrilling to see this take place, and it's thrilling to see the commitment that Chris has with the other members of our Economic Development Committee to improve our economy. With that said, I also wanted to say a word about our communications officer, Jack Victor. And he has been, it occurred to me as I heard some people talking, they stopped me and said, we don't understand how much he's doing. We think he just shows up at these meetings, twice a month and writes something, and that's his job. And that's all he does, and they don't think that's very good. But the problem is they don't understand how much he's been doing. He is in virtually everywhere, looking for every piece of important news that the world should know about, and getting it out to the media so that they know. He is writing, every time I see him, he's writing virtually every day. He was involved with the Economic Development Committee meeting and went to see Chris Kobick, and he was really grateful, Jack, about the work that you're doing for the township. It's also having a great benefit to the school, and was expressing that. And also, the Facebook page is lit up since Jack has been posting on those things. So, for example, Jack, I don't remember the name, if you would refresh my memory of the Villas man that helped out an autistic child on an airplane.
Eric Conklin.
Kunkel.
Kunkel. Well, you tracked him down. You read about it in the news. You realized he was a Villas man, and found out who he was, got his picture, and posted it. And how many people saw that, Jack?
7,000.
7,000 people tuned into that. So Jack is not just capturing the day-to-day news. He's capturing our local unsung heroes that do a good deed, good Samaritans on a plane. And my sister has an autistic child, and I know how much it would mean to a mother for someone to take the time to entertain a child such as that. So I just wanted to thank you, Jack, for what you were doing, and wanted to make sure people understood what a great benefit it is for the township to have someone like you that works every day to make sure that the good deeds and all the information that our citizens need to know gets out there. Thanks. Oh, and one more thing. Okay, so economic development. We did take the first step tonight towards designating the airport as an area in need of rehabilitation. This was the first step in a process which is going to take us down a path towards looking at tax abatements or exemptions. And we're going to be dealing with this over the next few months. We're going to be getting with the tax collector. We're going to be getting with our solicitor and looking at the law, looking at the options, and coming back to you with a recommendation leading to an ordinance which could help foster economic activity at the airport in the appropriate way. So this is also another thing that's coming out of the economic development, and we're beginning that process tonight.
Well done. Thank you. No announcements, right? Good to go. Open it up for public comment. Step forward. Mr. Rizzo, your hand shot right up there.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Robert Rizzo, Mickleswood. Number one is a thank you. I want to thank you, but especially the Public Works Department, for doing a fine job. It was horrible, terrible weather. I also want to thank Mr. Ball for making the announcements. The robocalls came in loud and clear. I don't know whether everybody listens to them, but I certainly do. And I'm sure they're a valuable asset to our community. A point of information. About a year ago, we celebrated the 105th birthday of Mr. Rago, who came to council, spoke to us very eloquently.
Right.
I saw his daughter, Doris, about 3 or 4 days ago. He just celebrated his 106th.
Is he still driving?
I don't know whether he's driving or not. I just saw his daughter at the bank.
He was last year, I think.
Well, he's still around, and
incredible.
he had a 106th birthday. So I think it's a nice thing that we did a year ago. Maybe we can bring him back for his 110th. It certainly was an interesting thing. And the last thing is a question. About a year ago, we had a presentation from some people from an electric consortium or whoever they were. And they offered us a great deal for all the residents of Lower Township concerning electricity. And it sounded very good to me as well as to many other people. Well, I think about a year has gone by. We haven't heard another word about it. What has happened to that?
I might venture to answer that one.
With that, I'll sit down because...
Well, I can answer it though, if you want.
Go right
Because
ahead.
me and Tom went to the League of Municipalities, and it was CUC was the energy group. But at the present moment, if you look at your Atlantic Electric distribution bill, we're only being charged 6.8 cents. They said that was because they're giving us a rebate because they charged us too much previously, but they can't compete against that.
And right now, it's not worth it. They said they would turn you over to Atlantic Electric because it's a type of penalty. So right now, there's no reason to do it because anybody that says they get lower Atlantic Electric, Atlantic City Electric is lying to you.
Okay.
So there's time now to...
I do have Stream Energy right now. And I was just curious as to what happened to it.
If anything, it sort of scared Atlantic Electric to dropping it down.
Promises, and maybe it influenced Atlantic Electric to lower their...
Well, they don't have any control over that.
I didn't think so.
No, it's been separated by the state.
Well, we can bring them back if things occur. Thank you very much.
Okay. Somebody else wish to address council? That gentleman had his hand up first, and this lady.
Joe Young, Cape May Beach.
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to ask a question about this resolution on the $47,000 for professional services, resolution -43. That's, what, is that for engineering services? What is it, what's that for? Is that
Yeah.
for a repavement project?
It's for the Clubhouse Road project, and quite frankly, I'm embarrassed it took this long. Gary Douglas, who's our Director of Public Works, I believe wants to address that issue. We've had complications along the way, and
Yeah, 'cause
I'm with you. It should have been,
some other.
we said back several weeks ago, the stars were aligned, because you said, and finally we thought they were. But Gary, you may want to address some of the technical things that you found that you wanted to, if you may. Mr. Douglas, you can explain it better, sir. And I appreciate your patience. Mine have run out on that one.
In part, along with that, the discussion tonight about MUA, I'm sure MUA is involved in this, right? So
Well, there
they're
was-
now tied with this?
There's been a lot of change to the MUA.
Right.
There's commitments from prior people saying they have money to help with the road, yada, yada, but I can't get into that litigation. But Gary maybe can tell you what we're doing now. He's grappled with this, and I think he has it under control. Gary, if you could just
So
give us an
I'm
update.
hoping council's not going to reappoint one of the guys on MUA right now. I mean, we're in a problem because of some of the things going on there. So now's some time for a new, fresh face over there.
Gary, can you bring us up to speed on the Clubhouse Road?
Yeah, after a review of the plan and specifications that we put out in-house to solicit bids for a contract, there was some legal flaws and some design flaws in it that may have been, cost us some change orders along the way. So it was in the best interest of the township that we rejected them, I believe, at the last meeting. And subsequently, there's been some infrastructure, drainage, underground utilities and stuff that just a little too complex for our in-house engineering. So the best option was to go outside to an outside firm. That's what we're doing tonight, and get the spec and the design right the first time. And we still hope to have it done by the end of June.
Gary, who was responsible for the flaws?
The flaws in the plans and the spec was our engineer,
Our in-house engineer?
my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Anybody else have, the lady here?
Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to thank the council and Mike Bull for appointing Shore Animal Control. My name is Linda Gentile. I'm a representative with Shore Animal Control. And we'd also like to especially thank Don Montgomery for being so helpful our first 2 weeks down here, because without him, we would not be able to do this during this transition time. And we'd like to thank Jack Fichter also for doing a great job getting the word out there. Because of this transition, we need the public to know who we are and that we're out there 24/7. Our officers, we have 6 officers. They work 24/7, literally around the clock, to answer the calls. And this week, and the last 2 weeks with this extremely cold temperatures, the phones have not stopped ringing, and we're hoping to do a great job for Lower Township. And we hope to get the word out there also that we will be working 24/7. And during these temperatures, we'd like to encourage people to bring their animals inside voluntarily, because it's so cold out there. And we have had animals that have not made it in the last month in certain townships. So it's really important to get that word out there. So we want to thank the press and all of you for giving us this opportunity. And Don Montgomery, who we are hoping to work with on a part-time basis, because he's done a wonderful job. We've known him for many years. And if he wants to be a part of our organization, and we can do that part-time without interfering with his regular job, that's what we're hoping to do, and we're here tonight to hopefully work that out with him. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hold on a second. Yeah, this gentleman.
Hi, Jesse Matzinger, 104 Old Mill Drive. Sitting through this meeting, I wasn't going to say anything, but obviously there's some conflict with this board member, and electing them, and you can obviously see it's a torn group here. I think that the best way to elect a new board member would be the same way you guys get elected. Let the community elect these board members instead of you, because I feel that this board has an interest in different parts of their getting elected, and that's who's getting put down in the Cape May MUA, the Lower Township MUA. So let the community elect them. That would be a simple thing. Let the community elect the board members down there. And then it would be out of your hands. Because obviously you can see that you guys can't reach an agreement. There is some conflict there without a doubt. I mean, I think everyone in the audience can see that in the beginning of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. This gentleman here.
Don Ems, North Cape May. On the same subject of Lower Township MUA. It's been my understanding that the board is now seeking applications for new executive directors down there. Mr. Loper has been put in as interim director. Mr. Loper, who is interim director, is the licensed signing operator of record at the MUA. Mr. Loper is ready and willing and able to fill the obligations of the executive director at no additional expenses. I do not understand why the board, the MUA, would want the additional expenses of a new executive director. To me, that makes no sense unless there's an alternative motive. At this point, I feel that it's important that town council make a fresh start by appointing a new member to the MUA board. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may interject something, Mayor. I don't know if there is any conflict. We just had a conflict of the process that was taking place, so I guess we will find out next meeting if there's any conflict regarding who the new appointed member is. I just want to make that clear. I mean, we haven't, you know, to date, there is no conflict as to that. My only problem is with the process. That's all I just want to mention.
Yeah, and Eric, if you can remember, the last thing I asked for was the opportunity for some discussion with council.
I just. Excuse me, so you can't do that. I'm sorry. I think the next person, the gentleman back here, had a question.
I'm sure there was discussion, but I just wasn't involved again. It's all right.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Brian McEwing, 681 Town Bank Road. And by way of public disclosure, I am one of the applicants for the MUA board seat. So everyone knows where I'm coming from. Point of order, I believe there was a motion that's still in front of this council that has not been acted upon with respect to an appointment. So I have a question for council. Are you not acting this evening solely because of the prohibition of appointment without 48 hours notice?
Let me just say this much. You know, the solicitor would have to answer that. It's not on the agenda. It's not. We're not going to make a decision. You're asking me a hypothetical in the sense that I haven't.
It's not hypothetical.
I haven't looked at any of the applications. I haven't done anything with it. So, for me to sit back and to make a decision whether I would have acted, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if it had been on the agenda, would you have acted tonight?
If it had been on the agenda, we would have acted, and I would have gotten the papers, and I would have sorted through it, and then we would have made the decision up here or whatever.
So am I correct that the reason why you're not acting is because it was not on the agenda?
I would say that you have a
That's what your attorney said.
I would say when you talk about acting, there's a variety of options that you could have. You could say that you could sit back and say none of the applicants are acceptable. You could sit back. So is that an action? Would that be? It would not be an appointment, but it would be an action.
But Mr. Mayor, I am a retired 20-year public manager.
Right.
I am now an attorney and have been for the last 5 years. I believe I would be an acceptable applicant to make policy for the MUA board. So you have at least one applicant that has qualifications that can bring the board where it needs to go. And I'm sure there are others in this room as well. So my question is, now that you know you have qualified applicants, would you have acted but for it not being on the agenda?
The question's been asked and answered several times.
It has not been answered.
I've rendered my advice. Right. That they've acted.
On your advice.
As you request, their action would be void. And your appointment would be void if they had elected to
Right.
appoint it.
I understand that.
They simply cannot act because it's not on the agenda.
I understand that, Mr. Presidis. But my question for council is beyond that. My question for council is, despite the fact that the action would be void, the question is, would they have acted if it were not void?
Ryan, I for one would have read all the resumes, and I didn't even know you were a candidate. I didn't ask for it.
It's been there for a month, Mr. Neville, but I understand you may not have gotten it.
I didn't ask for any of them.
Fine. And my final comment, well, I've another thing. Are you accepting additional applications, or will you freeze it to the ones you have?
No, we take them till, I think, till the agenda's published, and we say that that would be the way we would, I believe that's where we're at. And I think we talked about that at a council meeting.
We would accept applications.
Since until the agenda comes out.
We weren't going to accept any
And that
on
was
that day.
yeah, we won't take something handed in 5 minutes before the meeting. In other words, if you're sincere in wanting to be an applicant, it goes on the agenda, and that's where the deadline is. Unless council feels that something different, but that's what we had decided at a council meeting a few years ago.
And will there be a process for the applications, or for the applicants?
And what do you mean a process?
Well, some time ago, Mr. Mayor, about a year ago, in fact, you were talking about open government and having a process for selection of applicants to these kinds of boards.
Well,
and I'm wondering
the selection has to take place in public.
Now, I understand that, Mr. Mayor, but you were talking about having the applicants actually speak in front of council.
Well, and that's no.
Or will it be
we don't have
done?
that.
Or will it
That's
be
not-
done behind closed doors?
No, we're not, it'll be done here in the open, but it's up to council to read over what they have. If council wishes to reach out to any of the applicants, they're allowed to do that, and that has happened. But I mean, other than having a dog and pony show here, I don't, unless council wishes to do that, that's their prerogative. But that's not something that I'm with right now.
Okay, I'm glad to see you've changed.
I don't remember exactly what that was, but.
My final comment is that perhaps we should put Mr. Fichter in charge of identifying vacancies and distributing applications to council.
Thank you. Somebody else wish to address council, a gentleman in the back?
I've learned some things, Jack Porter.
Would you please?
Jack Porter.
Okay.
Address?
What are you, where do you live at?
We have a residence on 19 DeSoto. I grew up in the Villas.
Okay.
All right, I live in the middle.
All right.
Secondly, 44 and 45 resolutions. You guys worked together with the MUA to purchase things of thousands of dollars. You've worked that out.
Right.
Can you clarify for the public that a 5-year term for a board member, it's like a car lease. When it's up, you got to turn it back. You don't just, oh, we're not going to appoint or make process to appoint or not receive or look at applications. You have to, that's your responsibility being a governing body over the MUA to appoint or get ready to before the term is up. I believe the term is up in February. How did you take approach to buying equipment that I've worked for there, and we've done without this equipment, but that'll help a lot. But yet you can't decide on a board member. That's my first thing. Any feedback for that? Like how does that process work? It would answer a lot of people's questions because.
Well, let me explain this joint purchase. And Gary Douglas, who worked with Matt Eckert on these pieces of equipment that both entities needed, and we were going to share the cost to save the user and the taxpayer money. That was done prior to all this investigation going on, yada yada. This has been in the works.
I understand that.
So we're sharing the cost by percentage, I guess it is, Gary, on those two pieces of equipment. Instead of us buying a piece and the MUA buys a piece, we try to share and save the user and taxpayer as much as we can. And we'll continue to do that in the future to save money.
I'm a firm believer in that. The problem is, if saving money was a good thing to you guys working together, board members making bad decisions, both ethics, okay, and their thought process blows me away. I mean, you guys appointed people that make decisions down there that's costing money. So this couple of thousand you save by buying equipment together has nothing compared to the money cost by not appointing the correct people or getting people in there that really care. Because There's a 3-2 split here, there's a 3-2 split there, and until that is, I think they should have 6 and 6, because there's no fairness here. I'd rather see ties all the time than, 3 guys getting their cronies and 3 guys getting their cronies. We need to change that. You guys have no,
The council, I'll speak, is aware of all the issues. There's an ongoing investigation by the county prosecutor's office. There's nothing the council or I or attorney can do to influence that investigation to speed it up. But the council members have a lot of things to think about with this whole issue.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that until this prosecutor's investigation is concluded.
And to add to, electing people, there's wards for townships, that have a geographical area that you're representing to be, voted on, so you can sit in your seats where you are from your area. Here's a Google map. That's the 3 cronies together to make the 3-2 vote. And Mr. Mayor's assumption of 100 to 150 feet from his house to the house that exploded, that's how far away these 2 houses are apart. You were actually about 500 or 600 feet from the house that exploded. And that's the total amount of footage, which is less than a city block, all 3 board members that make the same decision. So factual things on footage, where people are from, geographical locations, should all come to an agreement on when you guys go through these applications. Not to disqualify anybody else on Town Bank Road, but you don't find that cronyism or, conflict, having people in the same city block area sitting on a board controlling things?
Let's bring up a good point about I talked about this before, maybe we should look at somebody from Ward 3.
I don't do that. We only pay the most taxes. We don't deserve anyone on the MUA.
We got 2 from Millis, Ward 1, we got 3 right now from Ward 2.
True.
And my final thing was, I was directed, because I apparently didn't know where I was at the last MUA meeting, and Mr. Nels, who was appointed by some of you here, instructed me I was at the wrong venue. I knew where I drove, I knew where I parked, I got there, and I brought those same pictures, and I showed him. He says, I have to take it up with you guys. Now, I understand management of where he dumped the illegal dumping, what he did there, and he openly admitted, I do it like other contractors do. It's state laws. You can't dump construction debris there. And he was, and he admitted to it right there on public record.
Where did he dump it?
He dumped it at the Lower Township Department of Public Works.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Can you respond to this? That's your Public Works Department.
Yes, I didn't know what was coming to an art gallery tonight, but anyway, the day this happened, I don't know what Mr. Porter says is illegal dumping, and it's against state law, first of all. At times, people come in there not knowing, and they dump material, as this was, construction material, not knowing. So, this isn't our fight. I'll assure you that situation was taken care of by the one photo that has my pickup truck and me standing there. My only problem with this, if Mr. Porter was so concerned about people dumping stuff they shouldn't, at that same time that I was sitting there talking to Mr. Johnson about, that's it, no more, I wasn't going to make them load it all back up on a trailer. It's happened before with other people. That another truck come in and dump the whole load of construction material as I was talking to Mr. Johnson. But we don't see any of them photos there. I'll assure you the situation was taken care of.
Thank you.
Rumor has it the other guy dumping with the other truck was also a township paid employee, so I'd hate to see that lose their job.
That's very untrue.
It's just rumor.
That's very untrue.
All right, so ethics.
Yeah. Are you getting to the point, sir, when you've been up here a little bit now?
The point is, when you have a dump trailer, you apply to the state DEP to get decals on that trailer to dump it to DEP registered places. You don't go in and dumping that knowing. He knew what he did.
All right, thank you. Somebody else wish to, go ahead. Let our Public Works guy.
We're going to finish this. We are a registered DEP facility.
Yes.
If we choose to take that, we can take it, although we don't. We don't put that cost to the taxpayers. But at times, people do come in not knowing. It was a legitimate reason. I handled it, and that's what it was. But evidently, you know, whatever's going on down at the MUA, and it has nothing to do with Public Works,
You're in it.
that, you know, it's not being taken care of down there, so now we're gonna drag the township into it. Unfair.
Gary, you do an excellent job at Public
Yes.
Works, and it's an unfair shot at you.
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Adams, 104 Bay Ridge Road, North Cape May. And this is not directed at Mr. Douglas, who I think does an amazing job. But what I'm hearing is that dumping at the Lower Township is illegal of construction debris. My problem is, when the chairman of the board of the MUA was questioned about his illegal dumping, which was caught on camera, he confessed. And he urged a confrontation with the town council regarding the event. Instead of just apologizing, saying, Mr. Douglas, you know, handled this situation and it's over, he urged us to come to town council and express the concern. And I quote, "This is the MUA. You're at the wrong venue. Go to council and the mayor with your complaint." Johnson added that there are lots of people who dump stuff the way I did, and that was quoted in the Herald on January 13th. According to the New Jersey Ethics Code adopted by Lower Township 33-2, public officials and agents are bound to uphold and carry out impartially the laws of the Township of Lower. Their conduct in both their official and private affairs should be above reproach. In addition, according to 33-3, avoidance of impression of corruptibility, they should conduct the official duties with integrity, impartiality, and in public interest. They should conduct their private affairs so as not to give a reasonable basis for the impression that any such official or employee can be improperly influenced in the performance of their duties. They should not be a source of embarrassment to the government and should even avoid the appearance of conflict between their public duties and private interest. It is my opinion that as a public official, Nels Johnson should have reported the crime of illegal dumping that, by his own admission, he knew was wrong. Instead of acting with integrity, he chose to jump on the bandwagon with the rest of the lawbreakers and commit the same crime of illegal dumping. This behavior violates the Code of Ethics 33-2 and 33-3, in addition to being illegal. In conclusion, I request that the Lower Township Council not reappoint the current MUA board members upon their expiration of their term. Please appoint neutral people who will guide the MUA in an honest, fair, and conscientious manner. Also, please choose independent people who will manage this valuable resource with the township's best interest at heart, but will also follow the rules governing this area.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Close the public portion. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.